Sergeevna. So I'm not Tomas, obviously, but he sent me in his stead. He's very sorry he couldn't be here. So just imagine that I'm Tomas. This is called Learning to Look at Myself. When she told me she liked to watch, I was like, hell yeah. I lowered my voice, like it somehow meant something secret, dangerous even. I said, you can watch me do anything. Her eyes seemed to get deeper, darker. She said, you'd be surprised at what watching reveals about yourself. I nodded in agreement, but really was just looking at the way her mouth moved when she spoke, like she was nibbling or something. The first thing we did was eat. She invited me to her apartment and made me spaghetti. I sat in a chair gulping red wine while she told me seemingly random stories of dropping out of high school, helping to organize anti-globalization actions, starting the local chapter of Cop Watch. I chuckled and said, oh, you like to watch cops too? She looked at me for a second, her eyes like manhole covers hiding something underneath. When the meal was ready, she asked, are you hungry? The tenor of her words somewhere close to a demand. I said, starving. She hitched up the tight black skirt she was wearing and pulled down her panties. I caught a glimpse of her pubic hair. She told me to follow her. She placed 2 chairs facing each other and motioned for me to sit. She handed me a plate piled with spaghetti and covered with thick marinara sauce. Since there was no table, I held the plate with one hand and the fork with the other. She sat across from me and spread her legs. Feed yourself, she said. At first, I tried to eat with delicate bites, worried about how I might look, wondering if the sauce would gather in the crevices of my mouth. It was delicious, so rich, so tangy. I gave in. Soon, I was slurping up noodles. I could feel the sauce fling this way and that, her hand on her pussy matching the rhythm of my eating, her eyes wide like spotlights. It was the strangest, grossest meal I've ever had. We continued like this, dates with chit-chat and then some act of voyeurism. She purposefully knocked over a vanilla latte and watched me clean up the spilled coffee in a cafe. She said that looking at me on my knees in public, wiping up her mess was so hot. She watched me do yoga at this studio that has huge plate glass windows. I could see her standing outside. She looked beautiful, regal, arms crossed as if her being there were perfectly natural. The person next to me noticed her too. She said, normally it's dudes that creep me out, no offense. I smiled at her from my child's pose. She said, but that girl looks crazy. I looked back at my lover. I thought it was interesting the way perception is so subjective, so based on context. The last thing we did together, we did in front of a mirror. She watched me take a bath. She sat on the toilet naked. She peed in front of me. She didn't even bother to say she was going to. She just let it go. When I got out, she dried me, and then we moved to her room in front of her full-length vanity mirror. She told me to put my hands on either side of it. Look at yourself, she said. She was running her hands over my back and then wrapped her arms around me and started to jack me off. I could feel her breathing on my neck. My face inches from the glass, my breath fogging it up, but every few seconds as the condensation contracted, I could see her eyes looking again right at me, eager, expectant. But I couldn't stop looking at my own face, my eyes hollow, my mouth agape, lips slack with desire. I looked foreign, unfamiliar. She said, I want to watch you come. She put one hand under my ass. I could feel her fingers at the base of my balls. I don't think I've ever felt so enveloped, so vulnerable, so completely safe, like I was being rocked. My dick got soft almost immediately. She stopped moving her hand and simply cupped my shrinking penis, small and squishy like a tiny pet. She said, "What's the matter?" I said, "My reflection, it freaks me out." She said, "It's hard to look your own desire in the face." I felt defensive and stepped away from the mirror. She said, "Don't be so fucking narcissistic. Women, we are taught to always watch ourselves in every window or mirror. You should get used to it. How's this? Come back to me when you do." With that, she told me to get dressed. She told me to do it slowly. I did. She brushed my hair and kissed my lips, and then she said, "I want to watch you leave." And I did.
Thank you, Kristina.